Policy discussion on consuming made in Ghana foods. Helen was talking about how the Gob3 Festival opened that door.
3FM.
Sixtus Noolo is also here with me this morning. You know that he is a chief patron of Gob3. But beyond eating the food,
I'm a direct descendant of Lord Gob3 himself.
Wow, look at this. Beyond eating the Gob3, we need to look at ways to sustain African foods, to sustain Ghanaian foods. Daniel Banuku is the Deputy Executive Director of the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development, leading the My Food is African campaign. Daniel, good morning. Welcome to the studios of 3FM 92.7.
Good morning.
You were at the Gob3 Festival, were you not?
Yes.
How was it for you?
I was. I think it's important to say I was there last year.
Right.
And then I was there just yesterday. Not the day before.
On Saturday.
And it was.
The man is still in the spirit.
It was. I'm telling you, it's not out. It was massive.
Are you a descendant of Lord Gob3?
Sure. Definitely.
The man likes the distance. He likes the distance.
I like it. Not like 6 I like it.
Hard, eh?
Not hard. I like it
soft.
Soft.
He likes it soft.
But I think the weekend was exciting. Comparing, I'm referencing whatever I'm saying to what I saw last year,
right?
As a baseline, because we saw a lot more an expanded program in terms of a diversity of cowpea-based diets. We saw also in terms of organization, space, patronage, it was really high, and the conversation generally around it is getting much more interesting.
Right.
And how we are able to bring all these food lovers together, vendors, in one space to have that conversation about food beyond just eating Gob3 and having fun, but just talking about it alone, because I was more interested in having the conversation, listening to the conversation that is happening outside of the celebration. And I think it was really, there's a big potential of how these food festivals and what you guys are doing here can actually, champion a new revolution, a food revolution, in favor of local indigenous foods.
I see.
And that's what is really very interesting for me.
How do we do that? Going beyond just bringing people together to come and eat and have fun. Like Sisters, he just went to eat. He went to have fun. He went to dance and then use his phone to put numbers on it. But you, no. That's what the man went.
His is one of the numbers I put on my phone.
He went to eat, he went to dance.
You see, the important thing, one of the concepts of Gob3 Festival is not just for people to come and eat, but also for people to network.
Right.
So the opportunity that 3FM creates through this festival is to connect not just patrons to vendors to consumers, but also that if you two of us went to school and we haven't seen each other again in a long while, we meet at Gob3 Festival. We reconnect, we rekindle whatever friendship that we had,
right,
and then we move on. So yes, for all those who also went to put numbers on their phones, it's part of it. And there are people, in fact, I met people there, or people met me there and were asking me, I'm looking for a place to do national service. I finished national service, I want a place to work. As if it's a job hunting ground. But that is how serious it's become, that people are looking for all sorts of platforms,
right,
opportunities to be able to connect in one way or the other, and also to look for what they want for themselves. And if you saw the crowds on Saturday, then you would understand that, look, this crowd was not just a Gob3 eating crowd. this crowd was...
How much gobe can you eat?
Can you eat? How much gobe can one person eat? And I was telling you about the 3 people who asked me why this is a one-day event, and I couldn't explain. And I know that it will come up in our meeting. Lois, good morning. So if you look at the way... that one there...
Maybe we'll do 3 days. We'll do Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday.
And maybe if you look at, for example, from a more... where I come from, you see... what's important is because we've been having this conversation about patronizing our local foods,
right?
And beyond food, patronizing made in Ghana. Now, what especially in the agriculture sector, if we really need to build sustainable agriculture, and then build our economy through agriculture, things like this are really very important, because you see what we remind the Ghanaian is the fact that it's important for a consumer to put that one cedi of yours, that every cedi you spend on gobe every day goes to impact that farmer who is in Wale producing cowpea. Every cedi you spend on gobe impacts the palm oil producer somewhere in the middle belt. The gari producer around, somewhere in this country just producing ordinary gari gets to benefit from the expenditure. So in that we need to, I think this is one of the platforms that helps to create what we call a circular and a solidarity economy, where consumers are actually aware of what they are doing, and deliberately, because you know that I want to spend my money that can impact somebody in one corner in Ghana doing something to just to put food on the table, compared to the taste and desire for ultra-processed imported foods. And because every money we spend, the little money we spend on those meals, those kind of foods, we are simply spending another person's economy and making their economy better, while our farmers are wallowing in poverty. So that conversation is really very important as to how these events actually create that interactive space for people to be aware and conscious that the decisions I take on what food I put on the table goes a long way to affect a farmer in one rural area who is producing some form of cowpea, either palm oil or producing gari. So that is really very important. We need to see how we build a food movement out of that.
Beyond, we contributing to the value chain, we're also eating healthy, because these foods are original, they are authentic, and they're not processed that much. So how do we maximize the benefits from events like this? I mean, for the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development, how are you leading the My Food is African campaign?
So the essence of the My Food is African campaign is basically to promote the consumption of safe, healthy, local, diversified diets.
Right.
And if we did that, we would be contributing to an agroecological production model that is owned by Africans, owned by rural farmers, where they have the right to decide what to grow, what seeds to use, and all of that is linked to our cultural heritage. Because anytime we have the conversation about agriculture, we are overly focused on the economics of it. But agriculture, there's a cultural component of agriculture.
Yes.
And where is that connection? That connection can be driven from, our events, our ceremonies. The Gans cannot celebrate their homowo without pepele, which is from maize that is made produced from agriculture. If you look at most of our local ceremonies, our events and rituals, traditional ceremonies, they are all food-based rituals.
Right.
So food actually has a cultural identity for us. As if I kept TZ in this room, I kept some Gan Kenke here, and kept some Akle and other things, I'll be able to identify who is from where, because of the choices of the food. So it has a cultural identity, and every food and recipes that we have a history and it has a story around that. So the more we celebrate these things, the more we get connected. I was shocked to see different forms of awokle, for example, that is made with beans, because I thought akle was akle, but I saw awokle made with cowpea, maize, and what you call that, coconut juice,
Right.
All stirred together, highly nutritious. Now, in this day and age,
So you don't need soup for it.
you really don't need soup for it, and it can be snacked on, and we are still talking about malnutrition in our country.
Right.
We are talking about stunting in northern Ghana, yet we have the most diversified food that are available. It is more about food utilization, and that is how events like this exposes the dietary varieties that we have, and how we can reconnect, because I see a lot of us are getting disconnected from our traditional meals, and it's impacting the type of food that our farmers are producing. Because if our farmers are producing cowpea and we are interested in consuming what is not produced here, who is going to buy that?
Yeah.
So there need to be a connection between what we consume on daily basis and what the farmers are doing.
Right.
Then we can build an economy that is sustainable.
For
Crosby,
yes.
Daniel is saying that the Ghana Tourism Authority, the Ministry of
So that's what I was about to ask. So for
they should
agencies
be more interested in
and
Gob3 Festival.
government ministries and all of that, which of them should, how many of them should be involved in these events? Because clearly they are big. Gob3 Festival is huge. There's Kinky Fest.
Yeah.
There are other festivals of made in Ghana foods.
Yeah.
So it's time for them to partner and then take advantage of the gathering and then do something. How do we work with that?
Exactly. So I think the first ministry that have to be interested in these things is the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
Right.
That's number one. Number two would be the Minister for Culture and Traditional Creative Art. We also need to have our Ministry of
I would put tourism there as
even
well.
finance and trade. Because look, the assumption, the narrative out there is that Ghanaians cherish food that is brought from outside. Now, if we don't change that narrative, right, and I would like fine dining, if we don't change that narrative, then we decide that, look, Burkina Faso just recently put a ban on the export of grains from Burkina, because they've decided that they need to feed themselves by what they grow as a community, as a people. So we need on the table to have the Ministry of Agriculture talking to the Ministry of Tourism, and I don't know how they've recalibrated this. The Minister for Tourism, the Minister for Local Government, and whatever.
Rural Development.
Minister of Health has to be part of this conversation, because we're talking about healthy, diversified local foods. In the absence of all of this, what is creating the vacuum is that as a country, we don't have what we call a food policy. What is our food policy? What do we want to feed the ordinary Ghanaian child with? What do we call food in Ghana? And how do we use that policy to then determine our trade import policy? Right? What are we importing? And how is what we are importing affecting the growth of our children, the health of our children? Because the more healthy and nutritious food children eat, they get a better development of an IQ, and they can learn better. So a food policy must recognize this through the Ministry of Education and ensure that children are given healthy, safe, diversified foods. The foods we consume would reduce our risk to all kinds of forms of communicable diseases. So it has health implications. So we need to have a broad-based conversation. And I think that, as you said, if you look at Fufu Fest, Kinky Fest, Gob3 Fest, next week, your colleagues, your sister station is doing a Back to Your Village Food Festival. I think after the Ghana month, we need space to sit down and have a conversation and say, what are we harvesting from all these rich food festivals? And what is the policy implication? How do we move forward as a nation, leveraging on this space that you guys are providing for government to take the right decisions that can impact that local farmer, egg farmer who is, because they're talking about Akoko and Kitten. Akoko and Kitten is going to lay eggs and it's going to provide some form of jobs for a poultry farmer sitting somewhere. What is the space to bring all of that to the market? The middle, in terms of value chain, if you look at the challenge we have that we are not talking about is the fact that Ghana is getting there's an emergence of a middle class.
Right.
And your wife, my wife, would work and close at 5 p.m. And if I really want to consume my local food, she should be able to run through the supermarket and have bean flour sitting there so that we can eat kose in the morning, right? In the absence of that, it is it is convenient for her to put an oatmeal on the table. But if she can find Hausa cocoa packed in Melcom, in any of the supermarkets, the food, grocery shops that she gets in, and she can just pick that, run home, and first in the morning, me and my children can have Hausa cocoa and kose on the table. That conversation is important.
All very Ghanaian.
Exactly. So we need to deal with the issue of production. We need to look at value addition, right? And then, so it's a big thing you guys are doing. Unfortunately, I think we have overly focused on the event, but there's a lot that we can actually harvest from this kind of food
so it should not be difficult to do, should it?
No, it shouldn't. The first would be getting the support from the relevant stakeholders, as he mentioned. As for the media house, there's always very limited that we can do. In fact, in-house, we had toyed with the idea of a 2-day event. But you see, you are talking about costs, a cost that a media house that is already cost burdened may not be able to take on. But if you have other private companies coming on board, you have the ministries, sometimes you don't even need the government agencies or departments to bring you money. You just need them to actively endorse what you are doing. So if we had the agencies and departments actively endorsing this, to say that, we are behind this project, that's alone
paving the way.
Next
year, for instance, the Independence Square, if the tourism ministry says the Independence Square is available for Gob3 Festival.
For Gob3 Festival. And we can easily fill the Independence Square. If you saw what happened at Legon City Mall, then you would know that this is something that the people themselves are interested in. So it is important that we begin to get the support from the relevant departments and agencies. And like I said, when you talk about these things, the immediate thing is they now will even cry budgetary constraints before you, because the mindset is that, they want money from us. It is not always about it. Well, if you give us money, we won't run away.
Who does not like money?
We can also expand the scope. But there are a lot of agribusinesses, right, that are really interested in what you are doing. Aggregators, processors who are interested. Corporate Ghana could be part of this process. For example, I've seen, cowpea is from where I come from. It's a very sacred crop. It has rich history. We can't talk about all of it today. It symbolizes feminism. It symbolizes fertility, and there's a lot. We can have that conversation another time. But if you come to the north in particular, where most of it is grown, perhaps we could have throughout the Ghana month, we could have actors within that value chain organizing a Gob3 Fest in Wa, for example.
I see.
Right? So we have these regional-based events leading up to a national Gob3 Fest. That is something that we can do. And for me, as a civil society person and a food campaigner, I would want to explore with you guys to do one in Wa next year. And we can co-finance this. Definitely. And then
Good morning to you, Lois.
We can co-finance it, and then to see how we bring in actors within the value chain, because it benefits the local, all the actors within the local value chain, So we need to have that space where actors within the value chain can see the importance of all of this.
Because they want to benefit from
and how it is going to open up business opportunities for farmers who are really interested in promoting our agroecological products from Ghana. Because at the end of the day, it is about our food, it's about our health, it's about our culture, and it's about
our pockets.
Our pockets. That's correct.
Because there's no vendor at Gob3 Festival on Saturday who did not cash out. Not a single one of them.
Charlie, and I saw some were frying some things at home and they were bringing them.
Oh, yes. At a point, some of them saw that no. In fact, as early as 12 o'clock in the afternoon, the first consignment they brought had run out. So if you were not smart enough.
And I think a lot of the vendors took a cue. They learned a lot from last year.
Yes.
Because last year at about midday, you could barely find
the food.
Yes. Exactly. And so I think they had a backup plan.
Right.
Yes.
That made sure that they sold till about 5 p.m. On Saturday. And
So in fact,
And you mentioned the kenke. The other thing that can also be seen from this year's edition is that people were not just limited to gobe or beans based.
Exactly.
So I ate kenke with abobi. And this is not a combination that you ordinarily would find in your food market. It's probably cooked at home for you. But to say you go to a kenke shop and buy, you won't get that. So you find that, and then you also mentioned the aiple. Yes, which is another thing we saw. We saw all sorts of other things that people came with to say that. So the argument the kenke person made was that there are people who take kenke with bean stew. I do that. So you had the bean stew on the side. They had the gobe properly so called on the side, and you still had the abobi on the side. Do what you can.
So Daniel, if we're looking for you, and your campaign, where can we find you?
So we are the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development. We are usually the campaign. So just a little bit on the My Food is African campaign is a Pan-African campaign.
Okay.
Being led by what we call the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. And in fact, this campaign is going on across the African continent. And the idea is to look at how we can bring, consumers closer to producers to be able to give them healthy, safe, and diversified diets. And basically to look at how we can transform the African food system to sustainability, because it is import-driven and being overly dependent on food imports, and the substitutes are just getting so many that they are killing the local agricultural production. And the policies we are taking every day are more in favor of, look at our seed policies, are looking at genetically modified seeds that are coming in to replace our local seeds. But these seeds, if you see the meals that we had there, every meal had a particular type of cowpea that is used to prepare it, and it has the cultural and spiritual significance back at the village level. That is a conversation a lot of people don't want to have. But so we're looking at how all of these things play together to reinforce our economic independence as a continent. Because if a country is able to control your food, then they control your independence. If they control your production inputs, they control your independence. And so that is what this whole campaign is all about. And we are located in Oyarifa here in Accra, opposite K Ofori. And then we also have satellite offices in the Upper West region. And I coordinate the campaign in Ghana, and I'm based in the Upper West region.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Let's now do some birthdays.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.